Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I want you to think for a second about the absolute last time you were just scrolling through your feed and suddenly you felt this massive spike of anxiety, or maybe a sudden flash of anger. Well, chances are you were interacting with a carefully crafted piece of persuasion. Today, we're going to decode exactly how informational texts try to persuade us and why it is absolutely crucial to critically analyze them. You see, we interact with persuasive messages literally all day long, right? On our phones, on community bulletin boards, in ads, in the daily news. But here's the thing, not all persuasion is created equal. While some messages genuinely empower us with facts, others kind of manipulate us using hidden and sometimes not so hidden propaganda techniques. So let's dive right in and uncover the mechanics behind how these messages actually work.
So I really want you to think about this question. Have you ever read a community announcement or maybe a viral social media post that basically tried to scare you into acting? Or maybe you've seen a poster that unfairly labeled an entire group of people. We consume information so incredibly fast these days that we rarely stop to ask ourselves, wait, is this message actually giving me helpful facts, or is it just trying to trigger my anxiety?
Okay, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the persuasion problem. Then we'll unpack stereotypes, followed by analyzing fear appeal. After that, we've got a quick respectful revision challenge, and we'll wrap it all up with how we can practice responsible communication ahead.
All right, diving right into section 1, the persuasion problem, and what happens when information crosses the line.
Now, persuasive messages are everywhere, and honestly, persuasion itself isn't inherently a bad thing. Like a public health announcement persuading you to wash your hands, that's a good thing. But the problem pops up when information crosses a line, when it abandons facts and respect just to quickly influence your beliefs or actions. Take this statement straight from our source material. All young people are careless, so they must be strictly watched online. Just notice how incredibly fast that makes a sweeping judgment. Does that feel fair to you? Actually, scratch that. It's obviously not fair. By using a single, absolute word, all, the author completely abandons any nuanced take on internet safety. Instead, they're relying on a manipulative shortcut to basically force you to agree with them.
Or, wow, what about this ultimatum? If you do not attend this safety seminar, your family will surely be in danger. Pay attention to the physical gut reaction you might have to a sentence like this. It's designed to create immediate guilt and panic. It completely hijacks your critical thinking by making you feel like a negligent family member rather than actually giving you facts about why the seminar is valuable. It relies entirely on exaggeration to manufacture panic instead of giving you actionable information.
So the absolute golden rule here is this. A truly informative message should persuade us without ever resorting to insults, discrimination, or unsupported fear. Even if the underlying goal is positive, like, say, promoting internet safety or encouraging disaster prep, the message itself absolutely must remain truthful, respectful, and fair. Period.
Moving on to section 2, unpacking stereotypes. Let's talk about the danger of oversimplified labels.
This brings us to our first major propaganda technique. And stereotyping is incredibly common, not just in the media, but in casual, everyday conversations. It's defined as a propaganda technique that presents a person or a group in an oversimplified, unfair, or generalized way. This could be based on age, gender, culture, occupation, social status, you name it. But why does this work so well? Well, it's because the human brain just loves shortcuts. We will gladly accept a simple, prepackaged label instead of doing the hard work of understanding real, highly complex human situations. For example, consider this quote: "Out-of-school youth are lazy and do not care about their future." This one is just rough. It isn't just factually incorrect, it is deeply harmful. It completely erases the very real systemic challenges that out-of-school youth might face, things like having to work to support a family, dealing with health issues, or lacking reliable transportation. When we blindly accept a statement like this, we're basically shutting down any opportunity for empathy or real-world problem-solving. We trade reality for a convenient, lazy insult. But let's fix this. We can totally transform this manipulative quote into a respectful revision. Take a look at this alternative. Instead of the lazy stereotype, we can say, some out-of-school youth face challenges such as work, family responsibility, or distance. ALS can help them. See the difference there? It's like night and day. Instead of insulting, this revision lives in reality. It names the actual barriers and opens the door for a supportive solution, like the alternative learning system. It still persuades you to support the program, but it does it with dignity and fairness.
Let's jump into section 3, analyzing fear appeal, or, as I like to call it, persuasion through panic. Now we're going to look at a technique that directly targets our emotions rather than our logic. Fear appeal is a propaganda technique that uses fear, threat, danger, worry, or just really alarming words to persuade people to believe or act. The psychology here taps straight into our deep evolutionary survival instincts. I mean, people act incredibly fast when they feel afraid or threatened, right? Our fight or flight response just completely kicks in. And manipulators, they know this. This technique crosses the line when it exaggerates danger, causes completely unnecessary panic, or relies on terrifying claims that just aren't supported by actual facts.
Here is a prime example of that. If you ignore disaster preparedness, your family will suffer during the next typhoon. Now, look, disaster preparedness is obviously vital, but look at the actual mechanics of this sentence. It tries to force your compliance through extreme, paralyzing worry. By throwing in absolute, devastating words like suffer, it manipulates the reader's emotions and basically weaponizes their love for their family. It doesn't actually teach you how to prepare, it just terrifies you about what's going to happen if you don't.
So how do we advocate for safety without the heavy-handed manipulation? We revise it. Instead of predicting doom and suffering, we say, preparing an emergency bag and knowing evacuation routes can help keep your family safer during typhoons. This just proves that you absolutely do not need exaggerated fear to write an effective warning. This revision gives the reader positive, actionable steps they can take right this second to reclaim their sense of safety, rather than leaving them totally paralyzed with anxiety.
All right, moving to Section 4, the Respectful Revision Challenge. It's time for spotting and fixing these techniques. Okay, so now that we actually understand the mechanics of these two techniques, let's put your new knowledge to the test with a quick, fun little challenge. Read this quote carefully. All farmers are poor, so they cannot understand technology. Take a second and really think about it. Based on what we just covered, which propaganda technique is pulling the strings here? If you guessed stereotyping, you hit the nail right on the head. This statement unfairly labels an entire occupational group in a massive, sweeping oversimplification. It literally assumes a uniform financial status and a uniform lack of technological literacy, both of which are completely unsupported generalizations that just vastly disrespect the agricultural community. Let's try one more. How about this statement regarding social media usage? One careless post online can destroy your whole future. What do you think? Which technique is at play here?
Yup, that is a textbook fear appeal. While it is absolutely true that we should practice good digital citizenship and, be careful about what we share, that specific phrase, destroy your whole future, is an extreme, totally unsupported threat. It's custom designed to create maximum anxiety and paralysis, rather than actually teaching anyone how to navigate the internet safely and responsibly.
This kind of breakdown brilliantly illustrates how we can systematically disarm basically any message we see out there. First, you identify the underlying issue. Like here, it's education. Second, you name the technique being used, stereotyping. Third, you isolate the exact manipulative words, like working learners cannot finish. And finally, you strip out all that heavy emotion and rewrite it with actual facts. Many manage time and succeed. By using a systematic toolkit like this, we take all the power away from the propaganda. We stop reacting to the emotion and start analyzing the mechanics of the text itself. Which brings us nicely to our final section, Section 5, Responsible Communication Ahead and Becoming an Empowered Communicator. So, how do we take everything we've talked about today and actually apply this critical lens toward daily lives? It all really comes down to a core concept from our source material, political correctness in informational texts. Now, I know sometimes this term gets bogged down in casual debate, but here it has a really powerful specific definition. It means actively choosing language and images that are respectful, inclusive, fair, and sensitive to people's age, gender, culture, occupation, disability, social status, and life experiences. At its core, it just means recognizing the fundamental dignity in absolutely everyone you communicate with or communicate about. You can basically consider this your everyday toolkit moving forward. You can use these concepts to critically filter your own social media feeds and, question those public posters hanging up in your neighborhood. You can make a totally conscious effort to eliminate unfair labels about youth, the elderly, or specific professions in your own everyday speech. And when you personally need to advocate for a cause or create responsible messages for health and safety, you now know exactly how to do it effectively, always emphasizing empathy, truthfulness, and inclusivity over fear and judgment. Because these propaganda techniques so strongly influence our beliefs and our actions, they hold real, tangible power over how we navigate the world. But here's the best part. Once you can spot them, that power transfers right back to you. The manipulator totally loses their leverage. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. How will you change the way you read, interpret, and share information starting right this very second, now that you can see exactly how the mechanics of manipulation work? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, stay critical, and keep learning.